Rules and Election Committee. I'm joined here today by committee members Mitch Englander and Jose Huizar. We're going to begin with the public comment period of today's committee hearing. So I'm going to call three names. I want you to be prepared to come. Is that the microphone over there? Okay. So with that said, the three names will be Bobby Jean Anderson, Dr. Tom Williams, and Mr. Weissman, D. Weissman. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. President, council members. My name is Bobby Jean Anderson. I am one of the members of the Los Angeles City Council Redistricting Committee. I'm here today to say that I left the process after our job was completed feeling less than adequate, and I am clear on the fact that the map is flawed. I don't think the public was heard, and mostly what was troubling to me is that race was used as a primary factor to draw the lines, specifically with our CD8 and CD10. It was just clear that the commissioner for CD10 was attacking CD8 on race basis, just going after the black vote. And that, I believe, was illegal based on the criteria for redistricting. So I'm here today to say this should be looked at again.
Thank you.
And I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Dr. Williams, and before Dr. Williams starts, we're also joined by committee member Tom LaBonge.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Okay, good morning to you, and good morning, Dr. Williams.
Good morning. Dr. Tom Williams from LA 32 Neighborhood Council, El Sereno. We participated up until the first map came out in many of the locations, trying to help, trying to make it more compact compared to what it is now or what it might become. But then we saw that, hey, everybody wants to have a piece of everything. Why? Because money, votes, associations, there's no parallel between many of the boundaries and those boundaries of the neighborhood councils, which have been used to define 95 communities of interest. We don't know what happened behind the doors. So we're quite concerned that it does not meet, the current plan does not meet the basic element of simplicity and compactness. And it can be done. We did it. We had some trouble in various locations, but it should have been much more compact. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. So if we could get Mr. Weissman, Don Francisco Rivera, and Pat Sanders. Dr. Weissman.
Thank you, sir. Members of the committee. I'm speaking as the Secretary of the Los Angeles Neighborhood Council Coalition, which passed the following resolution to oppose the redistricting as constructed by the Redistricting Commission. It may take several testifiers to be able to bring the full information before you, but I'd like to read the reasons why we did this. You've heard the motion before. The first reason is the Los Angeles Neighborhood Council Coalition is concerned that the first draft of the final map was made in three parts, each part proposed by City Council, and these three subgroups did not coordinate their efforts, apparently due to Brown Act concerns. Second statement. LA Neighborhood Council Coalition is concerned that the first of these three groups created 5 San Fernando Valley districts which remained unchanged and apparently unchangeable. This limited the flexibility necessary to create the remaining 10 city council districts. There are 8 more statements that I hope additional people will read into your record.
Thank you, Dr. Weiss.
I'm sorry for the limitations you're faced with, because I think you need to know all of these.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. We're also joined by Mr. Joe Buscaino, Don Francisco, followed by Pat Sanders.
Good morning, dear Chair and members of the Rules, Elections, and Intergovernmental Relations of the City of Los Angeles. My name is Francisco Rivera, President of the National Central American Roundtable. I am here in support of the final report from the LA Redistricting Commission and of the report of the proposed adjustments, modifications for the consideration of the LA City Council coming from the Chief Legislative Analyst and of the City of Los Angeles. In the Central American community, we support the adjustment reflected particularly in item U, returning a portion of the north of Adams Boulevard back to Council District 1. The majority of leaders in the Central American community, represented in thousands and thousands living in Council District 1, 10, and 14, are in support of both the CLA and the LARCCLA for the final adjustments that, for consideration that will be voted this morning in City Council. So there is a sense of history here, and congratulations to the CLA for good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Don Francisco. Pat, Susan Palafrano, Rano, and DeBello. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Pat Sanders. I'm a 30-year retiree from the city of Los Angeles. Also, my father started his career in his term 2 floors below this building. He started as a driver, driving the constituents for the city council to places that he couldn't go as a free man. These redistricting maps negatively impact the African American community socially, economically, and politically. This blueprint for the elimination of the African American community really is illegal, immoral, and unethical. The commissioners who voted against this plan, they can come to my house anytime and eat, or anything they need from me they can get. Obviously, there was something else that went on below this, but it doesn't pass the smell test. Actually, it's disrespectful to civil servants who have served in their communities, in their districts, just for you to eliminate and pick and choose what you want and leave them powerless. You wanted the people to come and speak to you, they have, but apparently you have not listened. Please do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan? I want to have you say it again.
Hello, thank
Susan,
you, Council President, and Council
you're
Susan Polifronio.
Prolifonio.
Yeah. Thanks for allowing me to address you. I want to talk again for the fifth time I'm very upset about the fact that you're running the border of CD4 has moved up to the middle of Franklin Avenue and is not down on Hollywood Boulevard, running down Hollywood Boulevard. It means that those of us, thousands of us that live north of Franklin Avenue have absolutely no say with our councilman about the development that goes on in Hollywood Boulevard that directly affects us. We're being associated with the Valley and Ventura Boulevard. This is not our natural association. It says Hollywood on a sign right above us in the hills. I went to a Hollywood Chamber of Commerce meeting a number of years ago on development, and one of the lobbyists got up who was a speaker and said, we have to figure out a way to keep residents from having any say in development in Hollywood by removing most of the hills, which include about 50,000 residents. We no longer have a voice in our downtown, which is Hollywood Boulevard, and you need to move the boundary back to the middle of Hollywood Boulevard, not run along the middle of Franklin Avenue.
Thank you very much. And DeBello, Pastor Tran Lewis, D. Charles Battle.
Good morning, and thank you for letting me speak. I live on Franklin Avenue. I live now on the north side of the street in one council district. We have a neighborhood group called Franklin Village. We're really active in our community, and we're really part of Hollywood. And I don't see why that little portion should be taken away from our councilman, Mr. Labange. I think he's done an excellent job. I've worked with him on getting a bigger fire department. I've adopted Fire Station 82, which is now in a different council district. Our Franklin Village is now divided in half by this map. We're a small little business district, and we're renters. We had a strong voice when we formed Franklin Village because we got the renters to be able to speak up in our neighborhood council. And I think Councilman LaBranche has come and done walkthroughs with us. Please change your mind about that little space.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Pastor Lewis, and then I think it's Deacon Charles Battle and Don Cameron. Please come forward. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. We stand here to address the commissioner. I pastor a church that has been long-standing in the 9th District. This church has been there for more than 50 years. We have tried to keep people in this community. We've come to this board time after time expressing our desires, hoping to be heard. We saying keep the 9th District in contact as it is. And we have appealed to you. We live in the community. I pastor a great church, and I live in the community. I'm there, and I've seen people, I serve people, but we need to keep our district as it is. We're here today asking you, please hear us and listen to our cry.
Thank you, Pastor. Deacon Battle.
To the chairperson, I am outraged at the redistricting committee. I think for the last 40, I lived in this community over 47 years. And I know today that Tom Bradley, Gilbert Lindsay, Billy Mills, and Mark Riley Thomas will have quite a bit to say about redistricting. Anytime that you try to do something and don't involve people, we have issues. I think what you're trying to create the 1960s all over again, and you're trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. And I say for those that have political admiration, don't forget, we still can vote in South Central.
Thank you. Thank you. Don Cameron, is it Vinay Chandra? Anthony Manzano. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Dawn Cameron, Westchester Triangle resident. And I'd like to thank you all for hearing our cries to get us back into CD11 with the rest of Westchester where we belong. I'd like to especially thank you, Councilman Wesson, for your leadership on that matter. And while many of our neighbors couldn't be here this morning, I know that I speak on their behalf as well, that it's really important for us all, obviously, to identify with our communities. And to separate a neighborhood like that was just nonsensical, and we really appreciate the sensibility that you've brought to this process and hearing us. So thank you for keeping Westchester, all of it, in CD11. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I must have butchered that. What's your name, sir?
My name is Vinay Chandra.
Okay. I wasn't that far off.
Oh, no, you weren't.
Okay, good to see you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I just want to echo on everything Don has just said, because I live in the Triangle also, sir, and we own a couple of properties over there, and I'm a 30-year retiree of City of LA, and I have worked in basically a lot of different council districts, and chose Council District 11 to be a beautiful neighborhood to buy properties and to live in. We paid a nominal leg for our properties there. And according to a lot of the real estate agents that I've spoken to, brokers that I've spoken to, this is not going to be financially beneficial for us to be put into CD8. So I want to really thank you, sir, for proposing to keep CD11 all together. And I would like to ask all of you members to do so also on our behalf. Please, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. If I could get Anthony, and followed by Joe Higgins and Mildred Higgins.
Good morning, council members. My name is Anthony Manzano, president of LA 32 Neighborhood Council, the community of Rose Hills. The commission was charged with a very challenging task in reassigning these commission lines, or district lines. But I've had a chance to review the Chief Legislative Analyst report, and I'd like to support the recommendation of keeping letter G or item G on that report in whole. What it does is it retains the community of Rose Hills as whole in the 14th district, and it also retains the community or the neighborhood council of LA 32 as whole. So I would respectfully request that this committee would support the report submitted, and it would establish an opportunity for the community to have consistent services by one council member, and it'd be supported to have that council member of the 14th district. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. So we'll have Mr. and Mrs. Higgins followed by Council Member Jan Perry. Mr. Joe Higgins.
Good morning, Council Member. Mr. Wesson, thank you for having this meeting. Thank you for letting us speak. I'm here to express my concern that Studio City is not being kept whole in this redistricting process. We are not keeping it whole. We are not putting it all in CD2. We're splitting it up. And if you look at Campo de Cahuenga and the Metro Red Line station, you will find that they are in zip code 91604. They both have a mailing address of Studio City. Please keep them whole and put them in CD2. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mildred Higgins. I'm from CD2, and I request that you keep us whole in Studio City because we have cultural events at the Campo de Cahuenga, which is a historic monument gathering place, and also the Metro station. We'd like it in CD2, please. From the Los Angeles Neighborhood Council Coalition, I'd like to share with you, often the Commission Chair did not allow speakers to complete their last sentence on a purported effort to hear everyone. It is true that the Brown Act requires that public government be a part of the California government committees, but there's no requirement that the committee or anything with the testimony received. The LACCRC is listened to over 4,500 public comments, and 6,500 people extended their 22 public meetings, but very little of this massive testimony was evident in the map. LANCC is concerned that reports from many NCs and from several community members themselves testify that full array of written testimony and proposed maps was not readily available, and the number of instances may not have been placed in the public record at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Perry?
I could recount to you all the reasons why many of us, not just me, but constituents of Council District 9 and the broader public have opposed these maps. We've talked about the process which was structured from the start to keep its work from the public view and failed to adopt clear principles to guide its work. We pointed out the shoddy effort to collect and follow testimony, and we have decried the pitiful effort to paper over their problems by developing a long, unpersuasive post hoc rationalization to justify these arbitrary choices. Early on in the process, I needed to lose 8,600 people. I talked to my neighbor, Mr. Parks. We came to an agreement which was entered into the official record to take a portion of the district near Vernon in Vermont and switch it back into Council District 8. We did that by doing no harm to any other council district. This plan unnecessarily removes downtown from Council District 9, downtown which has been an important partner to South Los Angeles for well over 4 decades. There surely are reasons for this decision, but there are 3 common sense truths about this decision that I personally challenge the members of this committee to dispute. First, the debate about CD9 is about sharing downtown versus controlling downtown. Today, CD9 and 14 share downtown although CD9 does have about 75% of the residents in downtown. Our proposed maps leave both districts with a significant part of downtown. The Commission sets out to award control of downtown to Council District 14, with only a sliver of downtown placed in CD9 as an afterthought. That's a decision that ignores the strong and solid opinion expressed by 75% of downtowners who said keep things as they are. Second, the downtown decision was not just about numbers. There was a clear and obvious way of complying with one person, one vote, and the Commission ignored it. Council Districts 1 and 14 did not need to have radical changes in areas of the Northeast unless there was an overwhelming desire to take downtown. That desire was so great that the Commission underpopulated both Council District 1 and 14 and reduced the Latino citizen voting age population in CD 14 down to 51%. Our proposal showed exactly how CD 14 and 1 can resolve their current underpopulation and maintain significant Latino CVAP majorities simply by reorganizing the Northeast LA neighborhoods like Eagle Rock and Highland Park that repeatedly expressed an interest in staying undivided and connected in CD 14. And so my question, and I will ask it again on the council floor, is why, if we can resolve those problems, why we cannot help in downtown? Look at the two maps and ask yourself which holds together neighborhoods with common interests. There is no basis for an argument that CD9 remains even remotely as well off as before by removing downtown. The income level of CD9 drops to $16,000 to $24,000 a year with the removal of downtown Los Angeles. And finally, the proposed move of USC, and I can say this because I went there, was an exceedingly insulting and ultimately empty effort to resolve a problem that had nothing at all to do with Council District 8. The median income in CD9, as the Commission proposes, is the lowest in the city now. Currently, both Council District 14 and 9, well, in the past, had mixed income profiles, with both districts having the more affluent, resource-rich areas in their northern regions. While that is still the case for Council District 14, it is no longer the case for Council District 9.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. City Attorney, since we are going to have business or action items before this committee, I'd like to say if anyone sitting out there did not fill out a speaker's card, do it now, because I'm going to cut off debate, and then we will later today after 10 o'clock continue this discussion on the council floor. But if you want to speak and you haven't filled out a card, please do that now. With that said, if I could call up Mary Jones Darks, Lana Shackelford, and Lisa Sarkin, please.
May I ask a question, please? If we speak here, will we not be able to speak before the council?
No, you can speak before the council as well. No.
Good morning. My name is Mary Jones Darks. I'm president of Baldwin Village Community in Action. I'm also a member of the West Area Neighborhood Council. And I want to thank the Commission very, very much for uniting our community. For the first time in a very long time, our neighborhood council is all in one district, and we're very glad about that. And I'd just like to remind our constituents, redistricting happens every 10 years. We know that. The last 10 years, I wasn't happy about being moved, but now I'm in a council district that I love. I enjoy working with CD10. That's where I am. Everybody's not going to be pleased. The Commission had a very hard job. Sometimes the constituents came up, they insulted the people. They're all volunteers just like myself and a lot of other people. I volunteer a lot of hours every week, and the Commission were all volunteers, and I think they did the very best job that they could, and I thank you for keeping us in one district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Darks. Lana Shackelford, Lisa, okay, Sarkin. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Lana Shackelford. Thank you so much for hearing my comments this morning. I wish that you would keep Studio City whole, The initial draft maps did in fact outline a way to do that. As a volunteer on the Cultural Affairs Committee of Studio City, I, along with our committee members, worked very hard to organize and run an event at the Campo this last December, which drew an audience as far away as Long Beach. Studio City has devoted more time and support to that area than our neighbors who are now trying to steal it for themselves. I submit to you on behalf of our Cultural Affairs Committee of Studio City that we plead to you to keep the Campo and the Metro in our district of CD2. Keep Studio City whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Sarkin, followed by Glenn Bailey and Don P., I think it's Gamma Jr. Good morning.
Lisa Sarkin, Studio City Neighborhood Council. I'm the Vice President and Chair of the Land Use Committee. I've lived in Studio City my whole life. All my life I heard my parents say that we don't get anything, we get the shaft. We need Studio City to be whole for once. More than 15 years we've been split up into 3 neighborhood councils. We had the opportunity with the first draft map, which was exactly what I believe the council district should look like, to be whole. We support the Campo. We are at the Campo. All of our signs around the Campo. We have the Metro Station. The MTA is going to be changing the name of it to Studio City, Universal City. If Toluca Lake doesn't want to be in the Southeast Valley, they don't want to be in CD2, then move them. We've given you a way to do it on the east. Please don't split up Studio City. We deserve to be recognized. We deserve to be in CD2. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. President, committee members. My name is Glenn Bailey. I am Area 1 representative on the Encino Neighborhood Council, speaking as an individual. I've addressed this committee twice earlier this month, pointing out an error in the commission maps, and unfortunately, apparently, the CLA didn't listen because the report as it related to Encino Village, Wish Avenue being divided, which was not the Commission's intent, was not included in the initial report. They had to issue an addendum. Also, the report is clearly mistaken when it says includes Encino Neighborhood Council as one of the neighborhood councils that are whole within the CD5 move. That is false. That is wrong. Encino Neighborhood Council, as I've testified many times, goes up to Victory Boulevard. And for the first time in almost 100 years, the lines have been drawn adjacent to the single-family homes between them and the Sepulveda Basin, and that is just wrong. Please don't be part of first time in a 100-year mistake. Thank you.
Thank you. Don and Garza, and after Don will be George Renault and Sylvia Jones.
Yes, my name is Don Garza, and I currently reside in the historic core of downtown Los Angeles. I'm a current resident, and I speak on behalf of no business associate or entity. At first, I was a little bit perturbed at being probably moved out of the 9th Council District into the 14th Council District. But it's come to my attention that the property owners, including my property owner, may be, in fact, all of them in the historic downtown bid, have basically stated they want to move into the 14th Council District. Now, these property owners have my best interest at heart. And so, as a resident, I can't speak on the other dynamics of what's going on in the 9th Council District or the rest of the city of Los Angeles, but I think for my best interest, it would behoove me to side with the property owners that have decided that we are better suited to be in the 14th Council District and taken out of the 9th Council District. So I'm going to have to agree with especially only the part of downtown where we're together as one unit. We need a common vision and we need a common goal. And I, as a historic core resident, don't have a problem with moving into the 14th Council District under this map.
Thank you. Thank you. George Renault, Sylvia Jones. Morning, sir.
It's actually pronounced Roe.
Okay.
But no one gets it right the first time. I'm here to connect the dots between 2 different grabs that the City Council has been engaged in. One over here is on the Redistricting Commission. That's the power grab. And then on the Ethics Commission, there's been a money grab. And in both cases, the City Council, instead of making sure that those commissions retain their integrity and their credibility, have completely ignored those goals and instead have subverted the process so that you guys get what you want when you want, and I mean that gender neutral. But the rest of us don't get what we need or what we'd like to have, and we definitely don't get integrity in the process. That's all we really ask. We know we're never going to get what we want, but we deserve integrity in the process. I have a yellow flyer here that talks about how you subverted the Ethics Commission, and Wendy Gruhl is taken to task, but you're all to blame, and you all have fingerprints on it. And that's the money grab that we don't have time to talk about today. We're talking here today about your power grab, and I'm very disappointed, and you will be held accountable.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Sylvia Jones, Richard Moore, Cindy Hinch, or Hetch. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sylvia Mary Bernadette Jones, and I'm a 7th generation from New Orleans, Louisiana. I love the 8th district. I love the 10th district. But what we all must understand as adults, everything must change. Nothing will ever stay the same. The young become old. Day turns into night. Are we always going to be fussing and arguing because we don't want change? Change is inevitable. We don't leave home without a cell phone. You cannot please everyone. If this commission redistricted and did everything everyone chose, we still have people that's not satisfied. We just got to get along. Change is coming. You can't avoid it. And so pull your boots up and get used to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Moore. Good to see you.
Good morning, Mr. Council President. Good to see you too. Committee members, and I introduce myself. I'm Richard Moore, a 50-year resident of Baldwin Hills, a retired school teacher with LA Unified. I've only serviced those areas that need the most help, South Central and Watts. Unfortunately, on today, the maps as drawn, I feel, I've had to say it again, I feel that they violate the 14th Amendment. Our due process and equal protection rights have been violated, so on and so on, down to the city charter. In addition, I think we've had a violation of the Brown Act because we seem to have had secret meetings and nobody wants to be accountable for exactly who drew these maps. And third, Mr. Council President, you will be our representative for the next 3 years. Nobody voted for you in Baldwin Hills. I'm telling you right now, my money and my neighbor's money is good as anybody else. Thank you.
Mr. Moore, just so you know, I'm going to propose an amendment to my members so that the Baldwin Hills, the Dons, will remain in the 8th district. So,
thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Cindy Hinch, or have I ever pronounced it right? I know I've
You
tried
have
3
pronounced it
times.
correct every time, and if not, you could count on me to correct you. Good
to
morning,
see you.
council members. Thank you. It's good to see you too, President Wesson. My name is Cindy Hench. I'm the president of the Neighborhood Council of Westchester Playa. Throughout this process, many people have spoken out in support of keeping Westchester intact and in CD 11. I have heard hundreds and hundreds of residents testify before the commission and this committee, and they have been unanimous. The testimony has been unanimous to keep Westchester intact and in CD 11. So I'm here today to ask you to do the same and to support that change. There are many other concerns with the maps and this process as it relates to the commission, and I hope that you will keep the interests of the residents of Los Angeles in mind, Councilman LaBonge, and that you would put those interests first in making these decisions. It's very important to us, as you can tell. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Michael Millman, Elliot Johnson, David Gaines. Hey, Michael.
What? Good morning, Michael Millman. I'm from Mar Vista. I'm on the council there. I have to just basically say there have been no better friends for private housing in this city than my friends in CD 11, CD 8, and CD 9. So when I see that their districts are under attack, I've got to drive out here and take the bullet for them. I have to stand in the foxhole. Don't chop up their districts, because those three people have delivered more private housing for this city than the entire state put together. I take my hat off to them. They have been in the forefront. They have fought for private housing. They have delivered inexpensive private housing. To chop up their district would be not to say, hey, you did a great job. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Elliot Johnson. Oh, hey, there you are. Followed by...
Council President, how are you?
Okay.
Gentlemen, I live in the Hollywood Hills, Hollywood Heights. Our neighborhood has been bifurcated. We're asking that the line be moved back south to Franklin Avenue. Tom, I think you have a handle on it. I'm just here to support you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you. David, followed by Fran Rickenbach and Pastor Joe B. Hardwick. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's David Gaines. Hello, Tom. Hello, Council President Wesson. I'm a longtime resident of Studio City and a hiking buddy with Tom LaBonge. I'm here, this is the third or fourth meeting, I can't remember how many times I have come to speak to the council, to the commission, about keeping Studio City whole. I don't really understand the Toluca Lake issue, but I really know that the Campo de Cahuenga and the Metro affect Studio City, and they are part of Studio City, and they belong in the same CD district with the rest of Studio City. I'd also like to point out that in this era of such a lack of faith in our elected officials, I think it's really important that the council listen to the residents of Studio City and keep the trust and faith in our belief that you people work for us and that we aren't here to serve you. So please move the Campo de Cahuenga, the Metro, back to Studio City, CD2. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Fran, followed by Pastor Hardwick.
Yeah.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm here to remind this esteemed board that a lot of work went into the creation of community plan boundaries and neighborhood council boundaries. And in Hollywood, we have, when we were creating the neighborhood council's boundaries, 4 of them decided, and smartly, to share Hollywood Boulevard. We all have an interest in it. What happens on Hollywood Boulevard, whether it's zoning, planning, or whatever, all those things affect people in the hills and people down in the flats. So what we're asking is for that southern boundary of CD4 to extend down onto Hollywood Boulevard, right down the middle of Hollywood Boulevard, and share that. We also don't have much in common with Sherman Oaks, except that we both agree that helicopters are a pain in the butt. So we're asking that some of the changes be brought back, that we are not going to be disenfranchised from one another. We want to stay together. Thank you.
Thank you. Pastor Hardwick, followed by Malcolm Bennett, and our last speaker will be President Davis.
Mr. Chairman, and to the honored members of this committee, I have been pastoring 57 years in the 9th Councilmanic District. I want to quickly say it is imperative that we take a good look at what's going on. I've made surveys after survey in Los Angeles, in our district, and there is quite a bit of unrest. I'm appealing to the council to remain as they are. I have 49 churches in the 8th and 9th district, and I have surveyed those churches, and there's quite a bit of unrest. And I appear here as president of the Western Baptist State Convention, the oldest black convention in the state of California. I'm appealing to you, to the body, to remain as they are, or let's go to the community and talk to the community. It's imperative that we do it.
Thank you, Pastor. President Davis, please. Malcolm, where are you? Oh, you come after the president.
Good morning, Mr. President, and to the committee. I just want to express my concern as president of the Baptist Ministers Conference as relates to redistricting. We have surveyed, done a comprehensive study as relates to this issue, and it will do harm to South Central, this community that have raised up out of the ashes, the grassroots level, after the riots, after much difficulty in the city, and this will do harm to our people. I am a native of Los Angeles, born and raised right in South Central, educated, Hooper Avenue, Vermont Avenue, Fauché, Manuards, right in the district there. I do represent 400 pastors, over 600 churches that is saying that this will do harm, and so we're asking you to vote no on this so that this will not do any harm to our churches, to our community, to our children, and I do appreciate this opportunity to address this board. Thank you so very much.
And it's good to see you, Mr. President.
Good to see you, Mr. President.
Okay, Malcolm Bennett is the last speaker. How you doing, Malcolm?
I'm doing great, Mr. Weston. How you doing, sir?
For old man, I'm doing okay.
Oh, you're doing just fine. Good to see you. Good to see all the members. I'm speaking, I've actually, Malcolm Bennett, I grew up and lived in the 8th and 9th district all my life and attended all the schools that the previous speaker just mentioned. And it's really my belief that the current boundaries should be kept intact. The way the current role is, I think it really disenfranchises those communities and dissolve the economic base of those communities. I think people have worked so hard to have restored those communities, especially the 9th, from all the unfortunately that has happened in those communities. And I think those communities have so much in common that the current proposal in changing those certainly does not do the residents any good. And I realize the committee has spent a lot of work on that, but I certainly hope you would consider keeping the boundaries as they currently are for the 8th and 9th district. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. At this point, Mr. Bennett was our last public speaker, and so I'm going to ask the CLA to respond on what is before us today.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. What's before you today are two reports. We have a report issued March 14th, and we have an addendum that was issued March 15th. They have a variety of actions on them. What you have before you are a variety of what we refer to as technical changes and also unresolved issues. Now, for purposes of an explanation, it has been the practice and it is standard to have a number of small changes that impact multiple council districts. When that occurs, if all of the council offices are in agreement, they are listed as technical changes. Those before you are on the original report, A1 and A2 through R. And on the addendum, they are addendums 1, 2, and 3. Now, you also have before you unresolved issues, again, in both reports. On the initial report, that is S1, S2, TU, and V, and Addendum 4. Now, there have been several changes that I think I can announce up front. Council District 11 has indicated that they are withdrawing A1 and they are supportive of A2.
Okay.
Council District 11 has indicated that they are withdrawing U. Council District 1. I'm sorry, 1. They are withdrawing U. And also...
I'm sorry, just for clarification, that's the north of Adams?
Yes, that's north of Adams on the original report. And Addendum 2 would replace H on the original report. Addendum 2 is simply moving the border over by one block.
Gotcha.
Okay. So that's what's before you today. In terms of process, again, this is it's a zero-sum game, and so we have to be careful when making any changes that they don't impact population variance to a great extent. So as things are structured before you, what you would need to do All of these changes are compatible with population variances, with the exception of Addendum 1. So what we would need to do initially would be to consider an act on A2. Now what A2 is the referred to as the Westchester Triangle fix. It moves the Westchester Triangle back into 11. What occurs with that, however, is then an underpopulation of 5, which then starts the domino effect. So in essence, what A2 does is restores the Westchester Triangle to 11, makes some adjustments between 8 and 10, and makes significant adjustments between 8 and 9. Now and 15 is also impacted to a lesser degree, but 15 is somewhat boxed in, so there isn't a lot of movement in 15 given the way the district is drawn. The major changes between 8 and 9 would be restoring the voices of 90037 to Council District 9 and restoring the Empowerment Congress of Southeast area to Council District 8. Those are currently the way the council districts are drawn. So that would be a restoration to essentially the current border, and that would solve the population variance for that action.
So is item A2 before us at this time?
Yes, you'd need a motion to approve item A2.
Okay, Mr. Labange moves and Mr. Buscaino seconds. Without objection, that'll be the order. Where are we now, Mr. CLA?
You can now go to the technical amendments. That would be B through R.
Let me ask you this. What did we deal with items 1, 2, 5, and 6? Or when will we get to them?
Those you would adopt all of those recommendations at the end. What you're doing now is actually formulating the map that will be sent forward.
So
now what would be before you again are the technical changes on the original report, which would be B through R.
B through R?
Yeah. And addendums 2 and 3, we would need to discuss addendum 1 a little further.
So you're saying addendum 2 and 3 we need to discuss?
No, addendum 1 we would need to discuss, addendum 2 and 3 on the addendum report, and items B through R.
Okay, so at this point we can vote on items B through R and addendums 2 and 3?
Yes.
Members, any questions or concerns? So at this point, Madam Clerk, what is before us? Or here, let me do it, and if I'm wrong, you correct me. At this point, we're voting on items B through R and addendums 2 and 3. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All righty then. Mr. Buscaino moves and Mr. Englander seconds without objection. That brings us to what point, Mr. CLA?
I would recommend discussing addendum 1 now. That's a proposal by 8 and 9 to move USC from 9 into 8. Now, what that does is that creates there's a 13,000 population in SC. So what happens with that then is that CD9 would be underpopulated. Now, without making additional changes to the borders of CD9, that conflicts with A2, which you adopted for the Westchester Triangle. So in simplest terms, if you wanted to proceed with addendum 1, you would need to instruct us to go back and make adjustments to ensure that the population variances work out. We could do that.
Chair.
Mr. Weezar?
Thank you. We just adopted A2 to adjust the Westchester issue, and I think this addendum 1 will conflict with that. So I would ask that I move that we decline addendum 1.
Any other discussion? Or Mr. Labange, your microphone, please.
We did get a letter from the representative of USC. This all keeps USC in one district. They didn't care what district it was in. This does keep USC in one district?
That complies with the letter received by Thomas Sales today.
Okay,
It agrees with keeping USC under one council district if we vote no on Addendum 1.
Any other remarks on this? So it's been moved by Mr. Weezer and seconded by Mr. Labange that on the committee then votes unanimously to disapprove Addendum 1. Next item.
Okay, now we move on to the unresolved adjustments. Before you are S1 and S2. Those are proposals by Mr. Krikorian and Mr. Labange relative to the Toluca Lake Studio City split.
I'm sorry, before we move off from Mr. Chair.
No, please, go right ahead.
Before we move off from the addendum, did we have any action on Addendum number 4, or are we just moving back? You're going to move back to 4 on the original report, correct? That's what you're talking about.
Actually, what we're going through now are all the unresolved issues. I started on the original report, but you can do Addendum 4.
So we haven't
first
done
if you
anything
want.
with Addendum 4. I just want to clarify that. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Okay, now if you could continue explaining, we have 2 requests, one by Mr. Labange and one by Mr. Krikorian.
That's right. There are competing proposals in the area of Campo de Cahuenga and the Toluca Lake Studio City split. City Attorney has indicated that S1 concerns them because of the connector with the remaining. They can address that, but it would be a very narrow connector. So they have expressed some concern as S1 is drawn.
So based on the city attorney's concerns where it relates to items S1, I would recommend members that we vote no on this item, and then I think we should then let Mr. Labange speak to his item.
Just to clarify here, S1, you want to read what S1, just a quick motion?
Okay, Mr. Miller, you want to, or somebody?
It's the description by Mr. Krikorian. Is that the, right now the committee the commission recommended a line that is, that does keep the Campo de Cahuenga in what is the 4th district. And this is Mr. Krikorian's motion to move it into the 2nd district. Okay, that's what we're voting on right here.
Right this minute.
Okay, I'm going to vote no. Okay.
Okay, it's moved by Mr. Labange, Mr. Englander.
I'm going to vote yes.
Okay.
I'm a yes vote.
Okay.
Okay, so then let's take the roll and start with me. Wesson, no.
I vote no.
Weezer?
No.
Buscaino?
No.
Englander?
Yes.
Labange?
No.
Okay, now, Mr. Labange, you also have
I do.
An item that's before this.
Exactly. Just a quick question, Mr. City Attorney. Who draws the lines of the neighborhood councils? Do we approve them? You can speak to the mic. Don't be shy.
They're actually approved by Dunn, I believe. And
Were they official? Are these lines official?
yes. There's
official lines of what?
Them, yes.
Of what? Because here's 2 lines. There's the Hollywood Hills West that covers this area, and here's the Studio City, conflicting lines that cover it. Here's 2 street signs, one here at Lagersham and north of Ventura Boulevard in CD4, stay in Studio City, and here is the current sign up at Moore Park westbound, east of Tahunga. So I exhibit A and B and C. I present them to you for consideration. Members, I believe my motion is a good motion, and I'm going to ask for a yes vote.
Well, on that item, Mr. Labange, it's my understanding that I think some further discussions need to take place between you and Mr. Krikorian. I would love to accommodate you. I'd love to accommodate all of the members, but excuse me, you can't lead that way. So I'm going to be recommending that this committee vote no on your.
All right.
So we'll start we'll take a roll, and you start with Mr. Wesson, and Mr. Wesson is a no.
Weezer?
No.
Buscaino?
No.
Englander?
No.
Labange?
What do you think? Yes. And I like that song, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? That's the thing I want to know.
Okay, that item fails. Mr. CLA, where are we at this juncture?
Now on to item...
Oh, wait, let me just say, getting back to you, Mr. Labange, I would be hopeful that once we get into council, that you and Mr. Krikorian will get together and we'll be able to put in some measure that will correct this situation and that we could get the votes on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? All right, next item.
Next item is item 2, which is Stonehurst. That's a movement of population from CD6 to CD7. Again, that there is no agreement on that item. The council offices can address it if they'd like. It is my understanding that they're attempting to work out a compromise with this for council.
So are you suggesting that maybe we defer on this a little while, or?
At this point, you could send that forward without recommendation, or my understanding is that there's going to be an attempt to come to agreement and bring it into council on T. So you can vote it down, you could send it forward without recommendation, whatever your choice.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I think if we could move it to council without recommendation is great, but I just want to make sure that whatever we get out of committee, that it meets all guidelines and that we're not imbalanced in any way. We could send this out of committee without recommendation and it won't show any imbalance in our maps?
That's right. What we're discussing now does not create population imbalances.
Thank you.
Mr. Labange?
I want to support the action at the end of the committee. How many more items do we have left on this, Madam Clerk?
We just got a couple of more items to go.
Got it. Thank you.
I believe that this will be worked out as well. I would recommend that we vote no on this, and then by the time we get to council, I'm optimistic that we'll have some agreement of sorts. So Weston, no.
Weezer?
No.
Vizcaino?
No.
Englander?
Yes.
Labange?
No.
Next item.
Next item, U, has been withdrawn. The next item is V, which is it's an alternate city plan submitted by jointly by council districts 8 and 9. It would be a remapping of the entire city.
Of the entire city, Mr. Labange?
I move a no vote. I move it no.
Second by Mr. Buscaino. Any other discussions on this? Let me ask this. Just looking at this without reading everything or checking every line, this would affect just about every district in...
Yeah, it would, as well... it's maybe perhaps an oversimplification, but it's largely making minimal changes to districts as they're structured. So it would be substantially different than the item before you.
Okay, Mr. Weezer?
Yeah, I just like to state that the commission did a great job in getting more neighborhood councils, making them whole, getting more communities of interest whole, and this would really undo all of the commission's hard work. So I strongly urge a no.
Okay, with that said, let's call a roll on that. Wesson, no.
Weezer?
No.
Vizcaino?
No.
Englander?
No.
Labange?
No.
Mr. CLA.
And the last item would be Addendum 4. This is a 75 proposal to transfer a portion of the Sahoba Basin south of the LA River, west of Balboa, from CD6 to CD5. Again, there's not a population impact here. There is not agreement on this change.
Mr. Labange, did you want to say something?
Well, what's CD5's recommendation?
I think actually CD5 needs to address that. It's their proposal.
Yeah.
I have indicated to that office that at my suggestion that I would ask for a no vote on this item.
Okay.
So call a roll.
Weezer?
No.
Vizcaino?
No.
Englander?
No.
Labange?
Yes, I want to support, I like Sepulveda Basin. Birds fly south.
All right, so that fails. Mr. CLA?
Then I think what's before you now is the CLA report and the addendum, so it will be recommendations 1, 2, 3 as amended, 4 as amended, 5 and 6, and then it would be the addendum items. You voted no on 1 and 4, yes on 2, and yes on 3, I believe.
Okay, now what items did you say? 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 3 and 4 as amended.
Well, at this point, why don't we just vote on, I want to get some clarification real quickly, but I would feel comfortable in moving forward with items 1, 2, 5, and 6. So I would recommend that we would approve those items, and then if that does occur, Mr. CLA, if you could go through again what has happened with items 3 and 4. So before us now are items 1, 2, 5, and 6. Wes and I.
Weezer.
Yes.
Buscaino.
Yes.
Englander.
Yes.
Labange.
Yes.
Okay, then on item 3, with your previous votes, you approved A2, which is the Westchester Triangle fix. It's being referred to. B through R, and H again is replaced by Addendum 2. That was your action on 3.
So then we can vote. Do we need to vote no on 3 and 4 then?
No, you would vote yes on 3 as amended.
Okay, so...
As amended.
As amended.
Right, good.
Wes and I.
Weezer.
Yes.
Buscaino.
Yes.
Englander.
Yes.
Labange.
Yes.
Now on item 4, again, Youth has withdrawn, and I believe individually there were no votes on everything, so you can just vote no on item 4.
Okay, on item 4, Wes and no.
Weezer.
No.
Buscaino.
No.
Englander.
No.
Labange.
No.
Any more business before this committee, Mr. CLA?
That should be, you've acted on 5 and 6 already? Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for coming out, for their testimony. Invite you to go to the City Council, where the full body of this council will discuss this item. This issue, this committee is adjourned.